Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video in our Learn C++ for Absolute Beginners course. Now, in this video, we're going to be going over string methods and constant variables in the C++ programming language. So now I have Repl.it.com opened up, and we're just going to go ahead and hit Repl. Always choose C++, and we're going to be naming it string methods. You can name it whatever you want. I'll just be naming it this for the purpose of this video. String methods and constant variables. Alright. Now, let's get started. So as always, we're doing some namespace std. Using namespace std. Just a little heads up, what this line of code does over here is just removes this std : so we just can use the functions without applying this, and we'll get into functions later, right? So we've covered variables, and first thing we're going to do is create a string variable. Say string my very own string is equal to C++ is cool. Now, I'm going to print that string. Except we're going to print out the string, but we're not going to be actually printing out the string. We're going to be printing out a method, a string method being applied to the string. Now, string methods are essentially functions that we can use on strings. We can't apply these methods, we can't apply these different things, we can't apply these techniques or these methods, essentially. We can't apply these methods to anything else other than a string. Okay. Now, the way we can apply a method to a string is by calling the string. We can call the method by adding a dot to the name of the variable name, the string variable, and then writing the name of the method we want to call. Now, to call a method in C++, you would do dot and then the name of the method, and then the two parentheses. Okay. In this case, we're going to do dot length. The first method, string method that I want to show you guys is my very own string dot length. What this method will do is look at this string object or this string variable, and it will count the length of the string. So instead of me doing this manually, 1, 2, 3, 4, it includes these white spaces. Remember, string is anything inside of these two quotation marks, including these spaces over here. So 1, 2, 3. Instead of counting every single character, including these spaces and everything inside of these double quotation marks, instead of doing this manually and finding out the length of the string, this dot length method will just do it for us. It will look at the string, count the length of the string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if we did this manually and we saw that the length is 11. But instead of counting this manually, we can find the length of any string, no matter how big it is, without doing it manually, just by calling the dot length method. Now remember, string methods only work with strings. So I'll show you in a second that if we change this string variable into a type int, and we gave it the value 9, or an integer value because of the type being something else, this dot length method wouldn't exist, because dot length is not a property of an integer. It's only a property of a string. That's why it's called a string method, right? The method can only be applied to strings, which we'll get into right after running this output. This should give us a number roughly 11, right? Because that is the length of the string. No matter how long my string is, I don't need to count the the length manually. I can just call dot length. Very useful, very useful. But let's get into some more cooler ones. As always, let's just test out if what I said was right. We can only apply string methods to strings, okay, to string variables. So if I say, or string objects, and string is equal to 9. Well, could I call dot length? Well, no, it will give me an error. It will say structure or union. One error generated. So essentially why we're getting this error is because dot length is not a property. Dot length is not a method that you can call. Alright, we're saying dot, which is how you call a method, length. Well, this method cannot be called to a non-string object. This is not a string object. It is an integer variable. Gotta change this back to string and give it a value of a string. Okay. In that case it was, see over here, C++ is cool. Okay. And then only will it work, because it's a string method. Okay, so only apply these methods to strings. Alright? Next thing we can call in the string, or a useful technique, is to just get a chart over here that shows us the methods, and then we can go over them together. Okay. First, we're going to find out the method that converts a string to an uppercase string. So we can say, we can go ahead in our browser and type in how to make a string uppercase in C++. And then toUpper is the method that we can call. Okay. What my very own string.toUpper will do is it will just look at this entire string and make every single character in the string uppercase. Instead of C++ is cool, our output should be C++ is cool. Somewhere along the lines of that, right? Okay, so let's check this out. To_upper. Okay. And the way we can use this one, so forgot guys, before we apply any of these methods, we always have to include the string library so we can use the string methods. Okay, so just do #include string. Now what this #include does is, the next video we'll be discussing program structure, but for now I'll just briefly explain what #include does. It essentially imports files from other files. So there is a file that's built into C++ called the string file, string.h, or a header file, which we won't get into, but essentially what we are able to do when we include this is we are including a C++ file called string, and now we have access to all the functions and methods in string. So now we can call my very own string.toUpper. Alright. So when we run this, let's just say C is cool. Let's just say this tutorial is cool. Alright. Sorry guys, I don't really know why it's working, so I'll get back with y'all. Sorry guys, for some reason the toUpper is not working in this video, and we've got to use a different form of implementation, which we'll be using more advanced concepts, so we won't be covering how to use toUpper in this video, maybe in a later video. But the next thing I want to talk about, since that doesn't work, and we need to use a different form of implementation, which is quite easy for me, but like for beginners, we'll be discussing how to implement that, like using the things that are necessary to use toUpper would be something advanced in terms of this tutorial. So we'll just be moving on, discussing something else, and then we will close off the video. So next thing we can do with strings is called string concatenation. As I said before, we can print multiple things in one line. We can print out a new line character, and then we can print out hi. Now we can print out hello. Essentially what this line of code will do is it will print out a new line to the console, print out the string hi, print out another new line, and then it will print out hello. Just add the quotation marks. And this allows us to print out things in different lines, but using one line of code. And that is through the string insertion operator. So every time you want to print out multiple things into the console with only one line of code, you would add this little operator over here. As soon as we click run, we will see hi printed out on one line, hello printed on the next line. Right, so that's what this special string over here, a string that just holds \n. And something we could use to just replicate \n is endl. Okay, and essentially, endl is the exact same as \n. So if I type in endl, standing for end line, to move on to the next line, this is just a embedded version. Embedded inside of endl is a \n character. So if you want to be more neat and you don't want to type in that \n character, you can just type in endl, which is essentially the same thing. So we should see roughly the same output. As you can see, same thing. These just have a \n embedded, so you can just type in endl instead of that character. Alright. So that's how we print strings in multiple lines, and \n character is a special string. Next thing I want to talk about is string concatenation. Now, say if I want to print out two strings put together, so we can do that. We can say hello, now we can print out another string. So instead of saying hello in one string, instead of saying hello, my name is Jeff, okay, instead of saying that, we can print out that in separate lines using the string insertion operator. Hello, my name is Jeff. And you might be thinking we'll see the same output on both lines. Well, that won't really be the case here. As we can see, let's add a new line. Alright. As you can see, the first one, that's all in one string, says, hello, my name is Jeff. The second one has the comma without any spaces, okay? But if I add a little space, also known as string concatenation, it will also add this little white space over here to make things look more neater. This essentially makes things a lot easier. So string concatenation is the adding of a space in a string before or at the start of a string to make things more neater. Okay, so that's how string concatenation works. To make it more readable, the console output to be more readable. So we can just comment over here, string concatenation. And that's all the ones I'll be talking about, discussing in this video, but there will be a link to every single string method, or most of the string methods in C++ in the link, there will be a link for that in the description box below. But essentially what this is, a comment, is it allows us to organize our code. So essentially the computer will ignore anything with these two slashes, and it will just ignore anything in this line. So if you write a line over here, if I were to say string concatenation, you can see it's all being highlighted in red, but if I were to do two backslashes, that instantly stops because a comment is not read as code. It's only for humans to understand. So I could organize my code. I could say, I could describe what this line underneath is doing. I could say this line, or I could just say a comment right on top indicating that I'm describing what this line is doing. Say, this makes the writing of code easier, so you can just use a namespace. Okay, so this essentially, comments are used to organize code. We can just write comments by doing two backslashes and then writing whatever we want to say. Okay, so this allows us to make things easier. So I'm just going to denote this as string concatenation so you guys know what this over here is. So we can just add back our space. Now, if we want to write multiple lines, so I want to write like this, I want to write a big comment, well, we can just give a starting position for our comment, which is a / and an asterisk, then an ending piece of a multi-line comment as a same / but so in order to create a multi-line comment, so instead of, this is called a one-line comment, 2 slashes. As you can see, if I go underneath, well, it's not a comment anymore. But this one allows us to have as much comment writing, so over here, as long as it's in between the start and the end. And the start of a multi-line comment is a / and asterisk after, and the end is a / but the asterisk before. This indicates that the comment is finished, and then we can make our comment really long by having everything in between the starting and ending position. And lastly, we have constant variables. And constant variables are essentially the same thing as variables, except they have another description to them. These are variables that we can't change later on in the program. So it's a very simple concept. Essentially, we create a variable of int, and I say int age equals 9. I could change it somewhere else and say int age equals 8, and then I could print out age. Alright. Essentially, these variables are prone to changing. I could change them somewhere else and then print out the latest version of them, right? But essentially, what constant variables are is they are variables that don't change. And essentially, how you create a constant variable is just typing in const and then the same thing as you would do in a variable. So for example, const age equals 9, or in this case, let's take a real constant pi, and we could take pi. Oh, sorry. Pi value. Just type in the full value of pi. We'll just take this. This is an accurate version of pi. Take this version of pi, right? This is a constant map, so we could just leave it as a constant variable. Change this to type float. Okay. Well, we can't change this value later on. And all we need to do to make a variable constant is type in the same thing, type name and value, but then just add the const keyword so it becomes a constant variable. Alright, and that's how constant variables work. And that is essentially the end of this video, and I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like it, please make sure to leave a like. Tell me your thoughts, criticisms, concerns, and what you liked about the video in the description below. Also, share this video to people who are new to programming or are just looking to learn C++ and the very basics of it. Alright, and that is it for this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video where we will be covering program structure. Essentially, why we need int main, why we need using namespace std, and why we need iostream. Why do we start off with these 3 lines of code before adding in our chunks of meat? Why do we always start off with int main? Why do we always start off with hashtag include iostream? And why we always start off with using namespace std? And why C++ needs to have those before continuing with the program. Why those lines of code are here automatically. Why they need to be as a sort of skeleton or template for our C++ programs. And that essentially is what program structure is. And we'll be discussing program structure in the next video. Alright guys, and that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed.